we believe it's very important to move on the issues before us in a timely fashion, and that any undue delay would be difficult to explain, and that we hoped they would approach these issues with all deliberate dispatch.
Folks, you may not think that that was a strongly worded warning, but when it's coming from Dick Cheney, that's about as strong as it gets. And he was speaking of his sessions over there in Baghdad with Nouri al-Maliki and all the other key leaders of the Iraqi political system over there, urging them to get moving on a range of reforms and other issues that that people in this city are awaiting action on. Some thoughts on all this now from Fred Barnes, executive editor of the Weekly Standard, Mara Lassen, national political correspondent of National Public Radio, and Mort Kondracki, executive editor of Roll Call, Fox News contributors all. Well, we know a little bit about what he said the response was, which he said was generally favorable. And this comes as the Democrats try to devise a new way to limit the president's freedom to continue the war over there. Where does it all stand, Mort?
Well, the vice president's over there telling them to move, and meanwhile, the prime minister's national security advisor, Mafik Rubai, was in Washington yesterday trying to get members of Congress to be patient. If they could meet in the middle, a happy medium somewhere, that would be fine. If there were some patience in Washington and some speed in Iraq, this might all work out. There is no patience in Washington. I mean, the more you hear from members of Congress, including Republicans, September is the line. There's going to be a reassessment in September if it's not going well. Even Republicans are talking about, forcing a pullout. So the one thing that Cheney accomplished was that they're not going to take a vacation, the Parliament. They were going to take 2 months off for the summer. Now they're going to take, I guess, a week off, and they've got a lot to do. They've been promising that they would get an oil agreement, petrochemical agreement, petroleum agreement.
For the dispersal of the oil proceeds. Right,
exactly. That they would start moving on constitutional reform. They would start moving toward regional elections and stuff like that, and everything is sort of moving, but it's all glacial, and it's got to start moving fast and show results.
Like Congress.
Look, there's a real. Yeah. This is something that the commanders over there have said. There's two timelines. There's the facts on the ground timeline and the Iraqi political timeline, which is moving pretty slow, and then there's the patience of Americans in terms of whether the support for this effort is going to continue, and that seems to be draining away faster than the Iraqis are making progress. Just today, Secretary Gates was on the Hill saying that in September he's going to give an honest assessment of the effects of the surge to the president and to the Congress. September seems to be this looming deadline here.
Boy, if I'm an al-Qaeda plotter in Iraq, I'm thinking I'm going to save my biggest operations for September.
Indeed, or sometime in the rest of the year. Look, this stuff that Cheney was urging them to do, this is for American consumption in Washington, because those are the people who are most upset about the lack of an oil law and sharing the oil revenues, and want to allow some of the people who were thrown out of office, some of the Sunnis who lost their jobs in debathification, to give some of them jobs back and to have regional elections and to move. But the truth is, contrary to what John Kerry said, is that they need a political solution to end the violence. They need to end the violence so they can have a political solution. That's the first thing they have to do. They have to beat back the Sunni insurgency. The Sunni insurgency is not based on the lack of sharing oil revenues. It's based on something quite different. It's based on the desire of the Sunnis to rule their country again, as they did for all those years under Saddam Hussein. Now, look, these political steps will help a little, but there's a bigger step that has to be taken and is being taken, and that is first to secure and pacify Baghdad, then Anbar province and the rest of Iraq. There is a military solution isn't the total solution, but it's the solution that has to come first. Then you can get this political reconciliation.
What you just heard is reality. Unfortunately, what counts in Washington is benchmarks, achieving benchmarks, and the benchmarks are partly political. And even the administration says that that they've got to reach these benchmarks, and they're. The operation over there, the whole surge operation is being judged not just on the basis of casualties, our casualty and their casualties, and success against al-Qaeda and stuff like that, but it's these political moves that the Iraqis themselves promised that they would achieve.
When we come back with the panel,